So, having read through all the discussions on structure exercise, a few comments. Again, some of these have been put within the discussion post, but let me see if I can bring them all together here. Overall, I think everybody was thinking about the right kinds of things, trying to think about what was important, which structures best address that. And you came up with a variety of interesting approaches, especially in the more complex ones. Um, the brewery, let's start there because that one was pretty straightforward. Functional structure is shown here, probably makes the most sense. Um, Large scale production is important in that industry, especially if you're making, this was kind of designed as more of a Budweiser or a major beer brand kind of company. Um, yes, they do have to occasionally change the mixture of stuff, but that's not real often. That's not likely to overload anything. It's not an everyday kind of thing. And so I put in the picture here one way you might manage it, a new product team with kind of a person from each of the functional areas that can meet on occasion, more often if they are making a major change, and that would probably work pretty well. When we go to the other two, the Omega and the motor vehicle manufacturer, there, as everybody pointed out, those were a little more challenging because there's more things going on, and it's probably going to be a matter of trade-offs. Back to the notion that there is no perfect structure. Um, so what you have to do is think about what is most important to the firm. How is it trying to compete? What things matter the most? And find the structure that has those as real strengths so that you can do the things that matter the most the best. And then recognize what are going to be the weaknesses of that structure and how might one try to overcome that. So for Omega, Omega has basically one product, but modified more for the government contracts, more standard for the construction trade. Um, but it really is one product. So going to separate divisions seems like a waste. Makes it harder to spread knowledge, things that could help one another. On the other hand, tailoring the products, the custom, innovative additions for the government contracts may well overload a straight functional structure. So, you know, could you use a matrix here? If a matrix were ever going to work, this would be the kind of place that it would. So picture something like this, where you've got your basic functions, your designers together, your production people together, etc. But then down the side, you've got your government contract managers. And contract 1, 2, and 3 here, but as a contract was finished and a new one started, you could rotate one out and put another one in. And these people, these managers would be charged with coordinating the work across the different functions um, to make the modifications needed for the contract. Um, yes, a matrix has its various issues. Um, as the book said, as I said in the videos, a lot of companies have tried them and then backed out of them because they can get overly complex and you got the two boss. But if you were ever going to make one work, this might be a place. If you weren't going to use a matrix, then you would probably go to something like this, customer divisions, where the government contracts is a separate division, the construction market is a separate division, and you live with the duplication of the functional areas. Here, though, while they're not drawn in, I would really suggest that the downside is going to be that learning and knowledge are going to be stifled to some degree. You still are producing one basic product, you're still designing one basic product, and that means things learned in the design and production within one division would be very helpful to the other division, and you need to find a way to ensure that that gets shared. So either that's through promoting close coordination between the heads of the two divisions, whether that is um, functional teams. So have your designers from each area meet on a regular basis and share ideas. Have your production people from each area meet on a regular basis and share ideas. You got to find some way, if you're going to use this approach, to overcome the fact that it's not set up to share that knowledge between the different functional units. Moving on to the motor vehicle manufacturer. Got a real challenge here. The real question that you come to, if you're going to use, or if you're going to go to multiple countries, is asking how much do you need to change and adapt to each country? The more you have to change and adapt, the more likely you are to want to go to geographic divisions. I've shown 3 here just because I was borrowing an old slide, but I think there were 5 in the example. But same idea. Now here though, note that I have in each country then broken down into the product divisions, because the cars, tractors, and trucks, they say they would like to keep track of, and probably are different enough that they're going to need their own divisions. This gets a little unwieldy, but if your belief is that there really are differences across all of the functions, coordination that's going to be needed to respond to demands in country 1 that will be different than in country 2, 3, 4, etc., you might want to go to this. The alternative would be to use product divisions. Sorry, I had the wrong slide there. So you could use product divisions, car division, a tractor division, a truck division. What you'd be giving up here would be the responsiveness to the different country units. What you would gain is that each major product line has its own focus worldwide. In the description, it did suggest that mainly the challenge was in distribution, and a couple of you came up with some kind of interesting ways you could manage distribution within the different countries, maybe working with local groups through some kind of network arrangement, maybe having some kind of a different marketing unit for each country. But what you to respond to that, but not have the major duplication that you would have if you were to have a structure like this by geographic units. Better learning within the car division, within the tractor division, within the truck division. Again, no simple answers. Do just recognize the challenges at each one and explain why you want one, what it gets you, but recognize what is giving up, and think a little about how you might overcome that.